Yo, what's up, fellow van builders? Welcome back to Van Dingo. It's Scott. It's good to have you. I have made a decision here recently about my customized heater system, Chinese diesel heater, I should say budget diesel heater. It works great, by the way. Those folks overseas did a fine job manufacturing this and bringing it to a super good price. No doubt about it. The thing that has been bothering me is, frankly, is the diesel smell. So I've got two tanks here, and the nature of diesel is it's a bit stinky. And so, I've been thinking, over time, I'm gonna have to clean this area. The smell will just remain pretty strong no matter what. And could I find a relatively inexpensive gasoline fired parking heater, as they call it, that I can replace the diesel heater up under the passenger seat and put this parking heater in, gasoline version. So I found something. Check this out. So it's called a Velit Velit air heater. This one's gasoline, so you can get gasoline or diesel. This came from Rack It Up and Go. And what really struck me here is built-in carbon monoxide sensor, high elevation, and Bluetooth control. Those were great. And frankly, the price on this was a third of what you buy, or maybe, half, depending on how you buy it, half to a third of what those German suppliers are charging. So for me, this was a deal. Now, I'm sure prices over time will go down, but this works for me as a replacement for the budget diesel heater that I put in there, and I can switch this over to gasoline, which is nice. All right, so for this tank, I'm also going to need to start by disconnecting these fuel lines here and here. And then I've got what looks like an electrical connection right there. This is tank B. So I'll disconnect that as I move to remove all the bolts, all the hanging straps. And the other thing I think is important to consider is how are you going to bring this tank down once you loosen the straps. So, I've seen some guys put like a cardboard box under here, put something under here that allows it to come down maybe more gently than just crashing down when you take the last strap off. This piece here has got to be disconnected from the fuel door before it'll come out. So make sure that's disconnected. I'll show you that here in a minute. And then, again, something you can gently put this on. For me, I'm going to look for a cardboard box because there's not much fuel in this. I don't think I have a gallon in here. I drained it all the way down, maybe a gallon, we'll see. But I'm guessing based on the weight of this, I'm going to be dealing with something like 30 to 40 pounds as this comes down with the remaining fuel and just the weight of the tank. But we can make that assessment as we get into it. So on my fuel tank for gas Sprinter, gasoline, not diesel. Diesel have to come off. So those are, I think, the clips that hold this in place, and you're going to want that to be dismantled so that drops down in through there when you take the gas tank out. So yeah, this is connected to this piece here, which will need to be loosened up. So interesting to me, this one was just, you push on the sides of this right here, and it just came right off. This other one, just get your screwdriver under there and pull that clip out, and then it'll pull right off. So yeah, a little messy. That clip pushes right into that housing, and once you pull it out, that fuel line, it's got a little pressure on it. You can see it all over my hands. So expect some splatter coming out of that thing when it loosens up. So now that's loose. Get some fuel dripping up there, that's okay. I'm gonna make sure I get this back into that housing. So, all right, well, you have to pull off this door. It's two T30 Torx bolts in order to get this off. And the same size Torx bolts. There's what, 3, 4 of those. And then same size Torx bolt here, which is holding your filler pipe to that hole right there. You got to take that off, and I screwed it back on here just so I don't lose it. So now that's loose, and it can come down when you take the tank out. And by the way, when you start this project, don't forget to disconnect your battery. I've just got a positive lever on mine so I can close it and open it as needed. So make sure you do that. Well, this was the proverbial twist and push that up and down and yank on it, and eventually it just slid right out of here. There's some sort of like little detent on here where it clips. But anyway, it came off. All right, so one thing I noticed is we've got zip ties on here for this wiring piece that goes with the tank. But these lines right here, these lines stay up here. You've disconnected them here and here. So you got to clip these zip ties in order for this thing to let down and not snag right here. So I'm going to do that when I get those clipped off. The other nice thing about taking pictures and video is that you'll remember to zip tie those right back in the same spot. Anyway, let's get those off next. All right, so I moved back to the rear, and I'm not sure, this looks like maybe a charcoal canister or something, some sort of evaporator, but it looks like it's got a pipe that's going up along here, probably connected somehow to the breathing of that gas tank. So I'm gonna pull this off just so it doesn't snag up on this when I drop the tank down. So I'm gonna pull that off. Okay, becoming more familiar with Mercedes spring clips. So this metal clip right up here on that, you pull that out and it actually has a spring. You pull it a little harder and then pull this out at the same time, and out she comes. So, and don't forget, way up there, your filler pipe needs to be free of that lip to drop down. So I think I'm good. I only have 2 straps holding it in, this one and this one. I got myself a box just to sort of help with it coming down. So my evaporative, I put 1 screw in my evaporative canister or whatever that is down there, that charcoal thing, because I can't get the frickin' clip off of it. So I unscrewed both of them from the 4 bolts from the frame of the van. So I'm just dropping that whole thing down when the gas tank comes down. Hopefully that works. And I'm disconnected here. Fuel lines are disconnected. All right, one-man show. I'm glad I rigged up this little contraption to set it down on, because there's a bunch more connections. This one right here is marked blue, so I'm assuming it connects when the filler tank, maybe that's an overfill line is what it looks like. There's another one over here that I'm not sure what that does. And then there's another one down there. That needs disconnected. So, and what looks like a breather hose maybe right here. Not sure. Not entirely sure. That looks like that goes down to maybe that charcoal piece, or whatever that evaporation canister is, whatever the heck that is. Looks like that's connected to it. So I got to get all those off. Well, that's the last thing to get off of there. And I, for the life of me, tugging and jerking and pulling, I can't figure out how to get it to disconnect. I wonder if there's something I'm missing. Well, on the one hand, these sprinter connections are super easy. On the other hand, if you've never used them before, they're confounding. I had to just twist this thing so I could see the green button. And then when you get the green button pushed, obviously, baby opens up, no problem. So this whole evaporative piece, or evaporation canister down here, whatever all that is, it actually comes apart pretty easily. You just got to know what you're doing, which I didn't really know what I was doing when I got started. So it's okay. This is part of this charcoal canister piece. So I didn't have to take that off and sit it goofy down there on that box. If I knew what I was doing to begin with, when this is disconnected, you simply pull it out of the cleats all the way down. There's 2 cleats, now 3 cleats. Here's a cleat here. You should push down on it with your thumb. Push down with your thumb. You're out. So that would have saved me some time and ciphering here. Now it's going to be a little loose, but I can bolt that thing back up to where it belongs. Because these clips were a bear. I couldn't figure out how to get these clips off. So I unbolted the whole damn thing in order to get the tank down. Didn't have to do that if I'd have known this. So there's a tip for all you folks out there going to drop your tank. This is a gasoline sprinter, by the way, just a reminder. All right, well, we're out. And here I had a fuel line connected here. And I don't know what this is, fuel sending unit, I don't know, something that signals what the float level is of the tank. And I had some other lead right here. Both of those I've taken off. This one here and this one here. And then, yeah, this was the fuel line. It's just wrapped up right here. So some of these I've seen that have come off have this giant cylindrical, threaded fitting. This one's a little different. It's got these pins that are clipped here, so it almost feels like if I knock it here, it's going to loosen up for the whole thing and come loose. The other thing too is it looks like this could be the fuel take up if this tank was equipped with a valve you just connect it to, right? A line you just connect it to, but this one still looks like the nipples here. I'm wondering if that's what it is. So the standpipe could go in there, perhaps. It also could go somewhere on this top of this cap. Somewhere in here, maybe. I got a lot of room for the standpipe to go in. But I'm gonna get this off and see what I got underneath here. And by the way, this wasn't that tough, other than figuring out the fittings and making sure you don't have much gas in here. As I said, I thought this would be 30 or 40 pounds. That's probably right on that with the amount of fuel that's in there. And had I done this 2 or 3 times, I probably could take this out in 45 minutes. In this case, it's taken me closer to 2 or 3 hours. So it's the first time clock problem. All right, well, she just came loose and popped up. You can probably see right here where I deformed it a little bit, where I struck it with this punch. So I hit it here, maybe here, 5 or 6 times in each spot, and it just let loose and popped up. So I've seen this online, and I think this is just on that's separate. That's interesting. All right, so this nipple is too problematic for me to cut that off and make sure it's the right size underneath. Plus, I only have so much in the way of threads here. And it looks like I got room for this head to come out here. If I just drill a hole right there, and I've got the dot where I'm going to put it, I can thread that standpipe down. I can put it down through that hole and into that little bucket, which should be good for the take-up of fuel. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, I think I hit the spot here. And this is just for sizing. So now I just need to cut it. All right, it's in there. I initially had it turned out this way, but this nipple was too long and this locking collar was bashing onto it, so that didn't work. So I had to raise it up with a couple of washers underneath and turn it this way. All right, so we just put some fuel line here, attached it to the nipple of the standpipe, and then put the fuel line in and also cranked it down. A little 7mm. Did the job far better than a flathead screwdriver. You just make yourself go crazy with a flathead. And then I got all the line here. Now the only thing that needs to go between this and the dosing pump is a fuel filter. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have that one connection there as I move through this process. But yeah, making some progress. Okay, took the 4 bolts off here, off the seat pedestal. There's 4. There's the seat. Make sure when you do that, you disconnect the airbag, the side seat airbag, at least in a Sprinter van. And this is the old diesel heater that works perfectly, but I'm switching it out for the gas one that taps right into that tank that I just reinstalled. So I'm gonna pull this thing out of there, and hopefully the template underneath here matches the one I've got to put back in. Stay tuned. So great news, the template matched beautifully. This is the Velit gasoline heater. It's been plumbed all the way to the battery, and the controller unit I ran up this B-pillar. You can see it right here temporarily. I'll give you a quick look down below. I mounted the muffler right here. There happens to be on the Sprinter van a hole already. It's sort of a weep hole in this angle iron that's coming down. So I just bent the bracket that was provided, cut the pipe. So I put this portion of the pipe, obviously exhaust, and had it come out here. And then everything else sort of bolted up beautifully. The only weird part was in the Velit kit, the plug-in that goes on your dosing pump is 2 separate wires, just loose. And there's spade connectors, 2 of them on the end of the dosing pump. So this wire, there were just 2 loose, like, I don't know, alligator biters that clearly go over that spade connector, and then a plastic piece that you have to push on. There's no directions about how to do that, so you just sort of think your way through it, and that piece goes back on in here. That was a little odd, but you know, fortunately I could educate myself with the one I took off and could see the components that made sense. And then the other thing I just want to be clear is to do your best to separate. So this is the intake, fresh air. This is the exhaust. This gets hot, quite hot. So do your best to bend it and separate it so it's not touching this. And then keep your gasoline and power wires as policed as you can. I'm using zip ties and keeping them away from the exhaust as well. So that's the setup. Now we just got to see if it works. Okay, first look here. Let's see. I think it's pressed to turn it on. Yep, there we go. Showing 75 degrees, and then you just push and hold. There's a, you know, got a bit of a glare there. Sorry about that. And you just, there's a number of menu things you can go through this and set, whether that's automatic time on. You can set your CO2 sensor. You can turn the pump on, supposedly, I guess. I'm not sure why you do that without just an automatic turn on. Right now I got set 70 degrees, and you turn it to change that. I'm going to change it to 77, let's say, or something like that. Well, a little too far. set it. And then let's just hold it and turn it on. Hold. Okay. These little sort of fire things below that are moving indicate that that's good news, that it's priming up. So let's set this back up here for now. I'm gonna mount it probably right here when I get this closed in. I could also mount it right here on this B pillar as well, down here somewhere. But I think up here on whatever material I use is a good spot to mount it as well. All right. Are we gonna have liftoff? I can feel air coming through there. Let's see if we get a startup. All right, so that's a good sound down there coming out of the exhaust, which means we should have some action in here. Yep. Pump is primed, and it's blowing hot air. And healthy hot air. That's nice and warm. And it's only cranked at the medium level right now, so that's fantastic, because that now is plumbed into my gas tank and no mess in the front of the vehicle, which is what I had before. So very, very pleased. That's good. Now I just got to get all this mess buttoned up, get this A-pillar popped back, because I got about 14 wires coming down through here that are powering other things like the light bars on the outside of the van. So yeah, a little more work to do to get it cleaned up, but that's great. All right, so now we are truly buttoned up. I spent a little time cleaning out the old compartment where the two diesel tanks were, and man, was it a mess down in there. So that's now done and cleaned up. All right, gang, well, there you have it. That's the install of the new Velit gasoline heater, exchanging out the diesel heater. And I had said at the outset of the video, the #1 challenge I was having was the stink. But I need to add the inconvenience of filling up the tanks, 2 different tanks, from the front of the vehicle in the engine compartment. So that's a bit controversial, right? Those tanks were in the engine compartment. I think more importantly, and I used that on our trip to the Tetons and up to Yellowstone, and it worked, frankly, beautifully, and has worked since. However, you do have to lift that hood up and fill 2 different tanks. One tank can go 24 hours. The other tank can do about 32 hours. And then you got to fill it up again and carry diesel fuel, extra fuel if you're out for an extended period of time. So all of this combined with the alternative of getting a Velit heater that taps directly into the gasoline tank. So far, super happy with the result, and unfortunate that I didn't take a run at that at the outset. I'm not sure that Velit was available when I first started this effort. But anyway, I've tried to take a very budget approach to this whole build in general, and that's why I think I chose that budget diesel heater to start, because they are very inexpensive, and man, do they work great. I now feel like I can drop a fuel tank, no problem. It's actually not that hard. Just #1 tip, make sure you drive all the gas out of it. Put that thing on the low fuel level before you do it, because fuel weighs a lot. Weighs way more than you're thinking until you drop your first gas tank. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got a good laugh out of it, maybe. Enjoyed it and got some education. Hopefully it helps you in making decisions about what you're going to do with your van build. And come back for future videos at Van Dingo, because the build continues. All right, be good. Bye-bye.